some that they want to share before I go spouting off? I see my teachers are getting back ready to go to school. They're all in their kitchens meal prepping. They're thrilled.
Yes.
Janet's booing. You're all thrilled. And Sandy is doing RDLs at the gym. Stacy. So I'm going to just let Stacy lead me into what I wanted to kind of talk about today. And again, I just want to keep building on this foundation thing because I was actually thinking of Stacy this morning. I was thinking about Jen. I was thinking about Lisa. Many of you, but a lot of times, like we hear from, you guys, like things that are happening in your life. And one of the reasons why we're so big on building a foundation is because life is going to continue to happen. So a lot of times, like and I'm not specifically talking to anybody on this call, but we'll hear things like, oh my God, I just need to take a break right now. I can't handle this because all this is going on in my life and I just need to step away for a minute. Now, I don't mean that we need to rest sometimes, but sometimes this happens like when life blows up and we immediately respond with fight or flight. And the fight is I'm going to fight. I'm going to retract. I just need to stop. I need to just stop everything. And I need to put all of my focus right here because there's a catastrophe happening in my life. Well, guys, these are going to continue to happen. And the reason why we build this foundation and why it is so important to lay those bricks solid, because while life isn't always going to be perfect and you're not always going to be perfect, the stronger that you build a foundation, the easier it is to handle. And this morning on my walk, I was thinking about this, and I bring up some of the same people because of how they built their foundation and they've been through similar things. So Stacy's actually been super open about it. Probably 3 conversations with Jules ago, she talked about going through something other than what she's like talking about now, but going through a situation. I think she openly even said, I know she reached out to me, and she talked about it on a call, and she basically said, I've got something going on in my life right now. I'm in California, Jules, and my workouts are going to look perfect. Things are going to be perfect, but I just want you to know that I'm doing it. It's a little messy, but it's happening because there was something very huge happening in her life. And the reason why she shared it with me was, one, so I knew that her workouts were going to be messy, and two, that she was getting them in. And she quickly followed it by, the older version of me would not have done this, but I understand that this is a priority and that if I don't put myself first to take care of myself, even though there's a bomb going off over here, that I'm not going to show up the way that I need to show up for the people in my life right now that need me to show up that way. She had to prioritize herself. And the reason why she had the ability to do that was the foundation that she built has allowed her mind to shift that way. So instead of going into full on panic mode and showing up and saying like, listen, I'm just going to toss in the fucking towel because the whole world is falling apart and this person and this family needs my attention right now. And I can't do anything else. She did handle that and she continued to show up for herself as she could. Same situation, Lisa. You guys probably never knew this, but while Lisa was going through prep, Lisa DeHurst had a serious, like she was going through prep. She had a serious situation going on in her life. And she reached out several times and said, this is hard. This is super, super hard. And I don't always want to do this, but she continued to push through with what she needed to push through. She had her mother living with her, and it wasn't an easy situation. Jennifer Dittman, recently, none of you know this, has had a lot of things going on in her life. And she's also going through prep and very hard hitting things. and she hasn't wanted to show up on days, but she has, and I mean, they've all had conversations with me, and these are just numerous women. You've heard from Michelle, lots of people, but my point in this, guys, and I say this because we've heard recently from a few people in the tribe, I'm not sure is there anybody on this call, that, oh my God, and you may have done it at one time, something is happening and I just can't handle this right now. The reality is if you build a solid foundation, which these women that I've just spoke about literally came out of the gate and built a solid foundation. They didn't really half-ass things. Stacy, right, came in and went on her 2-week reset into the field. I probably wouldn't have started her had I known that was going to be her life, but she did. She had to pack her fucking food and go in, and she had to do her reset while she was in the field. Lisa DeHurst, she came in, did her reset, was in the first phase of her program and had a family outing. And I remember it clearly. She was like, oh my God, this is going to suck. This is terrible. They drink, they do this. How am I going to have any fun? And she went and she talks about it. She went and she did it. There was never any excuses. And I'm not saying excuses. They just built that foundation. And I'm here to tell you guys that that is the reason why they handle things so easily. Not perfectly, but way different than they did. And there's a million coaches out there, fitness coaches, that will not be as strong as I am with this type of methodology. But the reason is I can teach you nutrition and I can teach you strength training. But if you don't learn to build that solid foundation, and what I mean by that is that foundation of this is how I do things, changing your thought process, the way that you approach things, the way that you handle things emotionally, because food is a trigger. And it's easy to not only use food as emotional relief, but it's also easy to prioritize other things and put yourself last because each and every one of you have been doing it for decades. So when you build a strong foundation, you are less likely to want to put yourself last. You think about it and you just don't do it. The thought may come to your mind, but because you've been repeatedly and you've built a foundation that just is like, and I guarantee you, there's 2 of them on the call right now. Sandy's another one. She's also gone through some shit while she's been in this program, and you guys don't even know about it. They reach out, they talk about it, and I'm sure some of you have too, but like, it's not always easy, but building that foundation is what keeps you there. And I'm sure, as I said, some of them would tell you this, that it's not easy for them. It's not. I hear about it more, but it's easier to continue to prioritize themselves. And it's always a choice that we have. Michelle just recently posted in the baddies. If you didn't see that, I thought it was hilarious. Nobody tells you that you have to go out to dinner and bring your prepped food. That's a choice that you make. The reason why she posted that picture was to, one, show you all that it's not a big deal. Nobody fucking cares in a restaurant. And she's right. I've done it numerous times. You may ask, why did she do that? Well, she knows how to go out to dinner and not bring her meal prep. She went to Hawaii on vacation, and I think the only meals that she ate that were consistently off her nutrition plan was her breakfast and maybe one other meal. Other than that, she enjoyed herself. But she chooses now, because she's not really on, she's with her son doing something. She's traveling, but she's choosing to stick to her nutrition plan. And her point in all of that was just like, it can be done. It was her choice. She chooses. And you guys are all like commenting on how her food did look better than the restaurants. But like, these are choices that we make. Like, does that make sense, guys? It's why we're so adamant about, and you all might be like, well, I actually am pretty solid. And you are, but it's just thinking about those little things, like every little thing as we're building a foundation counts in the beginning. Like, so re-looking at things. Make sense?
Hey, Jules, can I add something to that, Stacy?
Absolutely.
I so appreciate all the shout outs and just being part of a group of very strong people. And one of the things that I have to do sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes not, but sometimes I take away my excuse. I'm like, well, what's my excuse going to be then? That's if I don't go to the gym or if I don't go do something that I know I need to do, or if I don't eat for my meal plan, why? What's the excuse? And I've heard you say, choose your heart, or maybe Jen, you've said that, or maybe both of you guys have said that. So then you're going to have to deal with yourself. Like me, I feel like then I would be letting myself down. And I'm like, is that worth it? Is it worth it to make an excuse to myself? So then what I tell myself isn't even worth anything at that point. So it's really about being honest with myself and really digging down, like, because you have that choice in your mind and you're maybe struggling, like, well, I could choose this or I could choose that. Like, and so, like, for me, some of my hardest times, like, I don't want to lean into food. I want a glass of alcohol. That's what I want. I even told my husband that last night because I was, had talked with this other potential coach about what I'm going through right now. And I didn't want to eat. I wanted to have a glass of wine. And then I know what triggers or what's going to lead down the path for me is waking up in the middle of the night with my heart pounding, because that's what happens when I drink. And I already have a hard enough time sleeping and staying asleep the way it is. Sometimes they're nightmares, these different things that manifest. And then I'm going to feel bad about it because it's just empty calories. And then I have inflammation, like all these things that are bad for me. Essentially, I'm parenting myself.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, Stacy, that's not what's good for me right now. What's good for me is to sit with it
Yeah.
and try to turn it around.
Yeah.
But it's an everyday, and I don't mean this to be discouraging for anybody, but if you're going through a hard time, it's not always going to be like, grueling every day, but sometimes you have those days where you just have to put one foot in front of the other. And you just have to deal with it. You feel a lot better when you deal with it in a healthy way. But in the back of your mind, I know in the back of my mind, if I'm letting an excuse rule my actions, is it, and to me, it's like, I know better and it's not worth it. And I've heard people say, well, I get the case of the fuckets. Well, you're just okay with that. And we've talked about, leading a life of mediocrity or leading a life of greatness, leading a life that you're proud to say that you're living. So I choose not. I mean, so what I do, and Jules, you know this, so I have my refeed, my big refeed meal. I always leave it on Saturdays, and I have my big huge workout, and like my exercise plan has changed again, and Saturdays and Wednesdays are like kicking my ass right now. But when I have my refeed meal on Saturday, um, that's why I do it, because I have my, just like the hardest workout on Saturday morning. But then I'll allow myself to have a glass of wine. But sometimes the wine it's not as great. And if it's not, then I'm like, I might drink half of it. And sometimes, if we're just having a good time, we're celebrating, maybe I'll have 2 glasses. But I just am constantly gauging in myself and my mental state and why am I doing this? And I let that be my guide. So I just wanted to add that. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but it's just there's so many things. It's really, what your trigger might be ice cream, or it might be whatever it is, fresh bread with butter or whatever it is, the soothing thing. But then I always ask myself, am I trying to self-medicate? Why am I trying to numb myself from feeling something? So what is, the one consistent thing though that I've had over this now newly realized identity crisis is my fitness program and this program. That has been my common denominator through a lot of the hard things I've been going through, and I even forgot a little bit about it until you started recapping it. I was like, "Oh, yeah." I remember being in the parking lot at the gym in Southern California and fighting back tears and of what was happening at the time, and I'm like, "Nope, I'm gonna go in the gym.
Mhm.
I'm going in and I'm gonna hit the rack and I'm gonna do squats and I'm gonna add an extra 10 pounds and I'm gonna keep going."
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And it changed my mental state. Once I got to working out, I started feeling better.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of us can identify with that. You start to feel clearer, more clarity. I still had that emotional heaviness that I was carrying in my heart. Um, but it helps. And this has been a common denominator for me. I don't know that I would have stuck with um not drinking through all these hard times. I don't think I drank a drop for like maybe 3 weeks while I was there in Southern California going through this. I don't think I drank at all.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I had kids to cart around. I don't have any kids, me personally, but I had my nephews and I was taking care of them night and day, round the clock. Hats off to mamas everywhere. It's a big job. Making sure that they get fed and they go to bed and then the homework and the soccer and baseball, all the things. Baseball or not baseball, but birthday parties, and then, "Oh my god, we're supposed to take brownies to whose house? When? What?"
Teaching
Ugh.
teaching them
Oh,
manners, responsibilities. Yeah,
oh
all
my
of that.
god, like, yeah, and I'm, like, taking my nephew to soccer practice, and I look and I'm like, "Okay, we're here," and I look around, and I'm like, "What's going on? Why aren't we getting out of the car?" He forgot to put his shoes on.
Yep. So many little things.
You
But
can't
guys,
get mad.
this is like what I'm talking about. So thank you, Stacy. But guys, like
Yeah, thank you,
she doesn't,
Stacy.
you don't like what you just heard, what she, even though she recapped things, is what I was saying. Like she basically tied a bow around it. So what you just heard was the my gym alarm. Um, is the recall, the reaction, the afterburn of building a foundation. Like she just naturally has these conversations with herself now about everything. Like she's, saying that, so it's easier for her to do these things even on the hard times because of the foundation. So she basically said at the end, I could do these things. I didn't. I could lean into, and I probably would have. So that's why I'm so adamant about you guys like building that strong foundation, because Stacy, well, not Jen now, not Sandy right now, they're both due, but they like Lisa, like they, once they have reached the results and have the foundation, they can play with their plans. They're not 100%, but it's so ingrained in them that they don't go too far south, if that makes sense. Like your metabolism is at a place where it runs like a top, and the little things that might fall off, and there's certain things that you never miss on. You may like go on vacation and sort out for a little bit and like not be 100%, but there's certain things that you just don't miss on, and that's what helps you. And when you come back, you like immediately come back. Those are the things that we're trying to build in you, because they're new habits and values that you have. So when you're enjoying life, like Stacy's, Jen's life doesn't look different than it did before the program. What's changed is their habits and values. They still live the same life. Sandy still lives the same life. What's changed is her habits and values. And Sandy's been with other coaches. Sandy and I had a conversation last night. She's like, I've lost weight before. I've done this before, but I've got the best results with this program. This was just her and I having a casual conversation. She's like, and the funny thing is I do less cardio, I eat more food, and I've actually had better results than I've had with any other coaches. And she's worked with prep coaches before. That's the difference. You know, and we were talking about it because she actually came out of one of her other programs very poorly. And because of that, it resulted in her gaining weight, a lot of weight, because she wasn't properly taught these values. And she'll be the first to tell you, because we had this conversation, she wasn't taught this stuff. So when the program and the coach went away, she put 40, 50 pounds back on. It's never going to happen to her again. That's why I am so solid about this, because you can hire other coaches. They can teach you nutrition. They can get you to lose the weight. But this is a lifestyle change. These foundations are huge. So remembering that, guys, because every time you make a little like tweak here or there, like I love what Stacy said, parent yourself. Like, is this really what I want to do? Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
I love parenting.
Yeah. And Jules, I just want to add to that. I think one of the biggest things I've learned in this journey is to really be honest with yourself. And I listen to a lot of other motivational stuff for my own business and all that, and that has come up so much lately. It's just being honest with yourself. Well, two things: the goal, right? What is your goal? And when I think back of what you just said about when I was in prep and my goal was to get on stage, but there wasn't anything to continue that to be a lifestyle goal. It was just to get me look good in that little tiny suit that I got to post up on stage. And then, so I didn't have a big why. And so having a goal and why you want to do it and have it be a lifetime and a lifestyle that doesn't go away just because you're off stage. And then two, being honest with yourself, where you're at. Like, I suck in this place. I'm not good here, but that's okay. That's me. And I've learned how to combat that. And I like what Stacy said, where she was like, does it serve me? Is this actually gonna help the goal that it is that I am setting? And you constantly are like, you'll look at me, you'll say to me, all right, Sandy, I'm changing this. I know you're down a pound, or I know you're this, but you know what? You got these goals. I'm pushing you. And you apologize for being hard on me. And I'm like, don't apologize. Be hard on me. I need that, So anyway, that's been a huge thing. The mindset, I'll tell you, is probably one of the biggest things. Anybody can do, eat the right foods and work out and get programs, and there's stuff everywhere. However, if you don't have a foundation like you teach, which I love that teaching lately, and the mindset, you really don't have anything. You're just going to fall right back into the old habits, because it's all hard, right? Choose your hard.
Right.
And I'd rather have this hard. And I love that post you did yesterday, Jen, with the health and the diet. I was like,
Yeah.
I love that heal came out of it. I'd rather heal than die. So it was awesome.
Yeah. I think that's the unique part of this program for me, is that the mindset piece, because that was the missing piece that I needed. And to add on to, Stacy's point, I'm a recovering addict. So like in the very beginning, before I even started using, like, my go-to release comfort was food. And then I went to drugs and alcohol. And then once I stopped that, I was a smoker too. A lot of you don't know that. I smoked cigarettes. And so then it was nicotine. And then I stopped nicotine after 2 years of being in recovery. And then I went back to food. So like, it's just been this vicious cycle for me. And again, it wasn't, I was looking for something, an outlet. I was looking for some type of release to deal with my feelings, my emotions. And now I've learned to lean into exercise and, talking to people. And that's, that was the missing piece. And that's what, attracted me so much to this program. And that's what makes me want to, share with others that, like this is possible. Like you can overcome anything. Like your body is capable of doing anything. It's your mind that you need to work on. And that is the hardest thing, is being honest with yourself and really taking a look. And that's why we ask you questions and, really digging deep. Because a lot of people, we, walk around in a cloud of denial, and just going through the motions. And so we build and stack these habits, right? And then all of a sudden, like, as women too, we want to take everything on and be caretakers because we have children or, whatever the case may be. And so like we naturally want to do that. And then and then it's like we're taking on the whole world. Why the fuck do we have to take on the whole world? We don't, and then that's where we forget about ourselves and we put ourselves last. And then it's like all of these things come up. And again, this is my vicious cycle that I just gravitate towards food, my source of comfort. And now, like, again, I had my aunt that just passed away from cancer. My grandma just passed away, and I'm in the middle of prep, and my emotions are like through the freaking roof. And what do? Because I've stacked on these habits, I've built the foundation. I go to the gym. What am I doing at the gym? I'm freaking bawling my eyes out right now. At the end of my workout, I feel better. I've released all of that emotion. I went and worked out. I feel better about myself. I come home, I just eat my meals, I drink my water, and I move on with my day. And that's to me, that's the beauty of this program, and that's what keeps me, wanting to fight for myself and to, continue to habit stack and to continue to do these things because, it's huge for me. Like I'm taking care of me now. And in return, like to Stacy's point, I'm able to take care of other people and I'm able to be in a better place and have a better attitude and enjoy life, because that's the whole point of being human, is to enjoy life, right? Because life's too fucking short.
No, that's good. And like I love that. Like two things, guys. Like I heard this morning, and Jen just triggered me on something. I was watching a podcast, and this is true. I've heard this before, but it was just a reminder. So first off, guys, if you didn't know, like we're in retrograde right now, and retrograde is, that's really not a bad thing. Retrograde is just about like the planet isn't really going backwards. There is issues with electronics. If you're traveling, you should probably go places 30 minutes sooner. There is a little something to that, but it's this opportunity. A lot of times things from our past, good and bad, will come back and show us like, hey, this is like, and sometimes it's opportunities that we should jump into. Sometimes it's things that we need to let go of. But as I was listening to this, because I actually forgot it was retrograde, I was listening to this podcast on it, but they were talking about like, and sometimes you want to cry, and that's release. So like, remember, like tears aren't bad things. Like, a lot of times we're like, I don't know why I'm crying. So like, by the way, this month, if you find yourself crying for no reason at all, it has a little something to do with, if you're into astrology, like what's happening, but it's just natural release. Like tears, emotions, they are a way of the body just like letting go. So it's like really okay to cry. So like Jen sitting in the, I really resonate with that now, because I spent a lot of time over the past year and a half releasing a lot of fucking shit. Like there was a lot of tears. I would sit on a leg press machine and bawl my eyes out. I would wake up in the middle of the night and bawl my eyes out. I would be God knows where doing something completely out of the ordinary in the back of a freaking Uber, bawling my eyes out. Not because I felt sorry for myself, not at all. But it was like really, so it's okay, to have those releases. You should allow yourself to feel those emotions. But as women, we sometimes feel like we shouldn't, and you should feel them. It's okay. Stacey talked about crying in the gym. But the idea is to release it and then just to keep moving on with your day. And, you know, the last thing that I wanted to say, like, to like close this out, like, we're talking about some pretty heavy shit. And some of you might be like, well, I'm okay. But like, a lot of this too relies into just like looking at your days. Like, the other thing that came up for me is like, I have maintained my body weight throughout the last year and a half. My body composition changed a lot. I really could have lost weight during this. I could have gotten leaner quicker than, I'm not even where I want to be right now. Those things could have happened. Much of it, to my coach's happiness, was on me, because while I have very good habits, while I have a very good foundation, if I look back at my habits, I could pick little things up here and there. I'm not as dialed in as I would need to be to really even dial myself in more. Now, you may look at me and say, well, you don't need to lose any weight, Jules. Maybe I don't. But maybe I want to be a little leaner, a little cutter, look a little different, see my abs again, all the fucking things before a year and a half ago arose. Maybe that's what I want. But I have to be really real with myself. If I want that, which I'm identifying to any goal that you want wherever you are. So if you still aren't where you want to be, you have to be mindful of what you're doing. Because when I pick up an extra ounce of chicken that I take out off the scale because it doesn't weigh 3 ounces, and I put it in my mouth, and I do that religiously, or if I'm at night in bed and I'm like, I'm hungry, but I'm really not hungry. And I go, well, I'll just have some protein because protein's not bad, which it's not. It's not. It's absolutely not. Or I'll just have some, whatever it is, I'm adding to my caloric intake. I'm not following my nutrition the way that my coach did. If I don't do my workout 100%, like, all of those little things add up. Now, I did that. I'll openly tell you, I did that for months. He knew I was doing it. He didn't give a shit, because he wanted me to heal and rehab. But now I have to be super aware of it. And sometimes we're not aware of these things when we're alone. So Jen came and spent a week with me, right? She's on prep. So I'm paying attention to what she's doing, trying to keep her on track. She made me aware of shit that I might be doing. She probably doesn't even know this. Like, I'm like, well, fuck. I held myself more accountable with her being around me for a week. Made me reflect and look at like areas of my life where I'm like, wow, not as solid as you think you are. That's coming from me in honesty. So part of this, guys, in building this foundation, specifically if you haven't gotten to where you want to be. So there's 2 parts to this. One, because I have such a solid foundation and my habits are very strong, I don't, like Stacey, Jen have talked about, and Sandy have talked about, I don't lean into crazy ass shit. I don't go get a chocolate bar. I don't go get a pizza. I don't dive into but I do other shit. Like, I still mindlessly do shit, which kept me right here the entire time. Right? It kept me here. So I have very solid habits, which is super beneficial. And if I didn't want to cut and I was very cool with where I am right now, which means like if I lose the weight, I get to my goal, I get to the body fat percentage that I want, my behavior currently right now is cool because I'll just keep cruising along. Jen is, out of prep, like, and not doing, like, before she was in prep, she was at a place that she wanted to be. She can get away with doing these little things, and she just would bounce up and down a pound or 2, but she never really. So my point is,
and I wasn't upset because I was at my goal weight, and I wasn't upset with myself about it. But again, like, if you have a goal and you're upset with yourself because you're not getting that goal or you're not seeing the results that you want, you need to look at these things.
Yeah, that's what we're saying is like, you got to be super like Sandy. I love what Sandy said. I think Stacy said it too. You got to just be honest with yourself. Like
Exactly.
where are these things happening? And then we're here to help you. But like the first thing that you have, because at the end of the day, this shit works. So a lot of times, like you just have to look at things. So I even have to do it. Like, and my first reaction is, coach, cut me more. Coach, you got to do this. Even me. And he's like, no, 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 I don't. And while he never called me on my shit, I know he knew what I was doing, but he was happy about it because he needed me to rehab. So he just kind of like was like, let's just let her do her little thing. And he also has worked with me for years, and he knows that I wasn't eating bonbons. I wasn't diving headfirst into anything ridiculous. Like he knows me very, very well. He knows that maybe I was eating sushi once a week when he hadn't told me to. Like that's my idea of, or maybe I, as I said, I was eating more protein, which actually benefited me hugely. But and so like, I'm not saying these things, what I was doing was wrong, but I really had to look at it and go, well, if you really want this, you want to get back to here, which isn't far from me, you're gonna have to really hold yourself accountable, Jules, and look at these things. So I've had to look at them. Like I said, my opportunity was literally Jen had me looking at things. Not because she made me, she just probably does, like I said, didn't even know it, but because I was aware of what she was doing, I was looking at myself more. Right down to drinking fucking water. Like I could tell you I drink enough water, but if I drink too much caffeine in a day, or if I drink too many, God knows what, and again, I'm not drinking calories. Like if I go to Starbucks, I have something that doesn't have any sugar in it. But if I'm drinking like a seltzery, I don't really do those either. But like sometimes I'll have bubblies or something like that just because I want something different. Those will take away from my water. But when I'm strict with myself and I go, well, if you want another coffee today, you need to chug half of that gallon of water because you did not earn the right to have another coffee yet. Like I have to play these games with myself too. I
Yep.
have to be thinking to myself, there are times that I will go to bed, guys, and I'm not hungry. Like I've eaten my last meal, and I literally get in bed and there is a trigger. Like, and everybody has different triggers. There's a trigger because I will turn on the television and I mindlessly watch usually a podcast. Jen laughed at me. I conk out usually during them. I'll turn on a podcast and I start to watch a podcast, and my brain will go, you're hungry. And it happened to me last night. And I'm like, no, bitch, you're not hungry. Like, think about it. My brain was like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm just going to go get some protein because, oh, maybe I didn't have enough protein tonight. I literally started to get out of bed and I'm like, you're not hungry. There's nothing. It literally was right here telling me I was hungry, to the point that I thought my stomach was hungry. And the minute I took myself back and I went, because it's a habit, a mindless habit, just like a mindless habit of me putting it's kind of funny, comical to watch me because I haven't been in prep for so long. I'm not necessarily aware of these things. Oh, that's not 3 ounces. Let me take that out and literally pop it in my mouth. What the hell was that? So I share this with you guys because I'm super aware because I do it myself. So like if these things start to happen at any point during your journey, I challenge you to peel things back. And as like these ladies said, just take a look at these different areas of your life. Like what is really happening? Make sense?
Yeah.
God, Rita, look at your arms.
I know, right? Look at her.
She's just like, Oh, look at you.
Just trying to come off mute.
Yes.
That's the challenge for all of us.
Thank you. Yeah, I love my arms. I mean, they could be a little bit more defined, but that's just the way I'm built. So it's all good. I'm happy with it. It doesn't bother me at all, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It's not the way you're built, my friend.
Yeah.
Not the way you're built, my friend. You can have lean
Well,
arms as well. That's the same with me.
okay. Yeah. I'm working on it.
Yeah, I know you
I'm
are.
working on it.
I could say the same thing. This is the way I'm built, but I'm perfectly
Yeah.
capable of leaner arms. I've proved it to myself. Again, it comes to all those little things. But
Mhm.
that's okay. Like, that's what I mean, guys. Once you get to a place where you're like happy with it and you really are happy with it, totally cool. Totally cool. But don't ever put limits on yourself.
No, I'm still trying to define them, but I do accept how it is now. So it's great.
It's great. They look good.
Thank you.
They
This mutant video thing never gets to me. I don't know why I keep having problems always, but it's okay. There we go.
all do. All right, guys. If this call was helpful, give me a thumbs up. Drop some fire. Awesome. We didn't hear from you, Lieutenant. Do you have anything to share with us? Are you good? We talked a lot. Here, I'll help you. Her necklace is very pretty.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, now you can hear me.
Now I can.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So, I had a little bit of a meltdown.
That's okay.
No?
It's like I'm putting in the work, but I'm not really seeing the results. And it gets to be frustrating. So, listening to this today gave me some insight. I do live alone. And I realize maybe it's an excuse, but more importantly, my takeaway today, I have to be honest with myself. I need to focus more. Life goes on. I understand shit happens. I get it. I need to be mindful. I wrote these things down and they all hit home. I realize part of it is because I put everything first and not always myself. I realized when I was about to order gum yesterday, I chew way too much gum. And I think sometimes I get so busy, it ends up replacing the meal. It's frustrating. So my goal this week, I'm putting me first. I don't have time, so I tell myself to put down what I eat, but I'm starting to write down what I eat, which is easier than putting it in my fitness.
Perfect.
And again, as an excuse. And I think because I don't know how to put it in my fitness except meal by meal, and that's frustrating. That takes time I don't have. So I am very grateful for this morning meeting. I have about 5 takeaways.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be more aware and pay attention and make it happen.
Not alone.
No.
First of all,
And that's the
remember,
beauty of this group.
tears are a good result. So remember that tears are releasing. So that's good.
I wrote that down. Yeah,
Tears are
because
releasing.
I always hold it in. Yeah.
And
So
this,
that makes me feel better.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they're okay to have, and it's a safe place to have them. And Lieutenant, like I said, no, I'm the same way. But we have to sometimes be super honest with it. You're not like me. I do it. I do it.
I
get
hear
out,
that,
you know,
but
I get out of bed.
you getting results.
No. Did you hear what I said? I've been plateaued for 20 months. Now, you know, whether you guys want to call it an excuse, it was a benefit to me. I didn't need to be lean. My little brain wanted to do it, and it was beneficial to me. But now, like, I have to look at things if I want to make changes, if I want to get, you know, Jack Jules back, which I'd kind of like, I literally have to be honest with myself about that, you know, and
Yeah.
it's not, that's what I want you guys to understand is I get it. You're not alone. And the other thing, Lieutenant, you have to remember, and everybody on this call needs to remember this. You are my sole purpose, whether it is in the free Facebook community, when I create a reel, when I do one of these lives with you guys, when I coach you, when I work with you, this program is to leave every single person that I touch, even if it's somebody that watches my reel, in a better place than I found them. Every single one of you that is here, even if you're not where you want to be right now, I promise you, you are in a better place
I
than
agree.
I found you. And Lieutenant, you have to be proud of yourself for that. You are healthier,
Yes.
you work out,
Stronger.
there are things that you were not doing before. And all this is again, I'm in a better place. I wouldn't have been in the position I am today if I hadn't had the skill set that I had. I might not even be sitting here right now if that had been the case. So you have to look at it that way too, Lieutenant. Like, you have some great skills, but then at the same time, we also have to peel back the onion and go, yeah, maybe, you know. So I'm glad this was helpful to you, but I also want you to know that you have done some amazing things. Like, you go to the gym, you do all the things, but yes, sometimes we just have to peel back the onion. And, you know, in my case, when I get out of bed and tiptoe to the refrigerator to go get some protein, go, seriously, 2 minutes ago, you weren't hungry. And I'm not saying that that's always the case. We don't even know we do this shit. Like you said, it's gum, or it could be tossing 5 almonds in your mouth. You don't even realize you did it. When we all have it happen to us. Sandy loves almond butter. I can't put it in her meal plan because, you know, she's like, or almonds, like literally she'll write in her like thing, like, you gotta take almonds out, because she'll sit down and have a bag of them mindlessly. Because she's like, and you won't even realize you do it. Jen would go to bed at night before she was in prep, and she would openly tell me on her check-ins, I had Quest chips. Why? I don't know. They're Quest chips. They were protein jewels. They were okay. Well, why'd you have them? I don't know. Were you hungry? No.
No. Habit.
Well,
Mindless habit.
right. Mindless habit. So you're not alone, but I'm glad you had takeaways, Lieutenant, because that is going to be what's important for the next step.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Love you, girl.
Yes, love you.
All. Thank you.
So proud of
Thank
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your
all.
vulnerability. You know, that's helpful for all of us. Good job,
Ah.
Lieutenant. I'm proud of you. I feel like being honest with ourselves and putting that mirror up, that's the hardest thing, but it's exercise, just like our biceps and our legs, and it's mental gymnastics, it's exercise. And that's the building block going through these
I appreciate that.
hard
Thank
things.
you. I appreciate you. Yeah. And that's what hit home for me today. Like, I'm not being totally honest because I'm not 100%, but I never say I'm 100%. But I realize I keep putting other things before me because that is part of my foundation. And I need to change that. I do. I need to change it. And I thank all of you for your support. Thank you.
You're
Much
welcome.
appreciated.
You're welcome.
Good call, guys. All right. I want you all to have a absolutely fantastic day. I am going to roll out to the gym and I'll see you guys all later. Peace.
Okay,
Bye,
bye.
guys.
Thank you.
Good day.
Bye.